The forest loomed over the lonely road like a graveyard of shadows. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, and the trees stood like silent sentinels, watching. Hidden deep within this isolated wilderness was Blackwood Cabin, a place lost in time, abandoned yet never empty. For years, locals spoke of its cursed past. Those who stayed overnight claimed they heard whispers in the dark, saw things that shouldn't be there, and worst of all, some never returned. But the Reynolds family had no idea what awaited them. A family's last getaway. It was October of 1978 when Michael and Sarah Reynolds took their two children, Adam, 10, and Lily, 8, on a weekend retreat. Life in the city had been stressful, and a remote cabin in the woods seemed like the perfect escape. A few days away from the world, Michael had told Sarah, "No traffic, no phones, just us and nature." But as they neared the cabin, a sense of unease crept over them. The trees seemed too dense, the road too narrow. The deeper they drove, the quieter the world became. No birds, no rustling leaves, just silence. When they finally arrived, Lily, usually full of energy, refused to leave the car. "I don't like it here, Mommy," she whispered, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "It feels sad." Sarah brushed her daughter's hair back and forced a smile. "It's just different, sweetheart. You'll love it once we get inside." But Lily only stared at the cabin with wide, frightened eyes. The first night, the voices in the dark as night fell, a fire crackled in the stone hearth, filling the cabin with warmth. The wind outside howled through the trees, but inside, everything was cozy. Until Adam and Lily rushed downstairs, their faces pale as ghosts. "There's someone outside," Adam gasped. Michael frowned. "What do you mean? Who?" Lily pointed toward their window. "They were whispering our names." Michael sighed, grabbing a flashlight. He stepped onto the porch, shining the light through the trees. Nothing, just an ocean of darkness, stretching endlessly. "It's just the wind," he said, but deep down, something felt wrong. Inside, Sarah put the children to bed, but she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling gnawing at her stomach at 3 a.m. She woke to the sound of soft giggling. She sat up, the sound came from the hallway. "Lily?" she called. No answer. Heart pounding, she stepped out of bed. The wooden floor was ice cold beneath her bare feet. The giggling had stopped, but a presence lingered. Then, right behind her ear, "You shouldn't have come." Sarah spun around, her breath caught in her throat. The air felt thick, suffocating. But there was no one there. The second night, the lady with black eyes. The next morning, Michael found something disturbing. The trees around the cabin had strange symbols carved into them. They weren't there before. The markings looked ancient, twisting shapes and eye-like symbols, watching. "It's just kids messing around," Michael muttered, trying to reassure himself. But Adam had seen them too, and that night, his fear came alive. A horrific scream tore through the cabin. Sarah and Michael ran to Adam's room, finding him curled in a corner, his body trembling violently. "She was here," he sobbed. "The lady with black eyes." Michael turned on the light and saw tiny, muddy footprints leading from the window straight to Adam's bed. But the worst part, the footprints were not Adam's size. The third night, the disappearance. By the third night, Sarah could barely breathe from the growing sense of dread. The walls felt like they were closing in. Michael sat awake with his hunting rifle. 3 a.m. A figure stood outside in the trees. Michael's breath hitched. He gripped his gun tightly. "Who's there?" he yelled. The figure didn't move. Then, without warning, it vanished, and then a scream. Sarah's scream. Michael rushed inside to find her in Lily's empty bedroom. The window was wide open, the curtains blowing violently in the wind. Lily was gone. Sarah fell to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Adam, shaking violently, clung to his mother. Michael ran into the woods, screaming his daughter's name. Only the wind answered, and the whispers. The truth about Blackwood Cabin. For weeks, police searched every inch of the forest. No trace of Lily Reynolds was ever found. Then, an old historian uncovered something terrifying. Over a century ago, Eleanor Blackwood lived in the cabin, a widow accused of witchcraft. She was rumored to have stolen children to feed something that lived in the woods. When the townspeople found her, they burned her alive outside the cabin. Her final words, "I will return for the children." Decades later, children still went missing near Blackwood Cabin. And on Halloween night, if you listen closely, you can still hear the giggles of a little girl in the woods. Then, Right behind your ear, a whisper will say, "You shouldn't have come." The aftermath: Michael and Sarah never recovered. They searched for Lily for years, but they never found her. Adam, haunted by the memory of the lady with black eyes, stopped speaking altogether. The Reynolds family was never the same again, and Blackwood Cabin, it still stands in the middle of the forest, waiting